Bueno, es un formato que de
capital city, which is Copenhagen. So even though we're a small country, we're a very diverse country, and we do have people from all around the world. And this mix of culture, it does make Denmark a really vibrant and inclusive place to live. We're very famous for our beautiful landscape. We have a lot of sandy coastlines and charming small villages. And if it's one thing that Denmark's really famous for, it is its commitment to sustainability and green energy. And on these parts, we are actually a global leader. So that's a little bit about Denmark. So yeah, I will continue with a little bit more about Denmark. But here are some of the topics that we will be covering today. So I will be giving you some facts about Denmark, how being an international in Denmark, studying at DTU, give you a little bit of updates on numbers and rankings, our master programs. I would like to talk a little bit about DTU Skylab, which is very exciting. Why you should choose DTU, student life, how it is to be a student here, and of course the costs, fees, and the application procedure. And we're going to wrap that up with questions, hopefully. So a little bit of fun facts. So the first one, of course, it's Lego. So Lego is actually founded in Denmark in 1932. And if you didn't know it before, you know it now, that the name Lego actually comes from the Danish phrase leg godt, which means play well. Denmark is often, if not always, ranked among the happiest countries in the world. You might know The Little Mermaid. You might know The Ugly Duckling, The Emperor's New Clothes, The Princess and the Pea. You know, these are all really famous fairy tales from Denmark. Another fun fact is that since we're a small country, no matter which city you are in Denmark, you're actually no further than 52 kilometers away from the coast. So if you really miss the ocean, you don't need to worry. You will always be able to reach the coast. You might not be able to swim around all year round, unless you really like cold weather, but you have the option because it is there. So being an international in Denmark. So the Danes, they are the happiest people on the planet. Why are we the happiest people on the planet? Well, first of all, we have a really good work-life balance. This is something that we're very famous for. We really appreciate hard work, but we also appreciate having a good balance in our private lives. So, you know, you work hard, you play hard, right? That is how the Danes work. We are friendly people. We don't really have any language barrier. Danes are really good at speaking English. I would say everyone speaks good English, and nobody's even afraid to use English either. So nobody would question you if you start speaking in English instead of Danish. We are a country of high tax rates. Might sound scary, but it does provide us with a lot of goods. We have a really good welfare society. We have good infrastructure. We have free education and healthcare. We have a safe environment, and we actually have a really high standard of living. Denmark, we are known for, well, of course, Legos, but we are known for innovation, technological achievements, modern architecture and design. So if you ever heard about Scandinavian design, it actually just means Danish design, because it's that clean, simple style that is very, very, yeah, but it's quite famous from all around the world, right? A clean environment, very important. Renewable energy as well. And all of these things that Denmark is really known for, we implement also in DTU. So for us, all of these things are really, really important. One thing that is also very important to say is safety. So safety has one of the lowest crime rates in the world. So if you want to go abroad and you want to go abroad to study, and you have parents who are really worried about you going abroad and studying in a different country, then Denmark is perfect, because it is such a safe country to go to. So you can tell your parents, oh, don't worry, this is Denmark. Crime is really low. It's a safe country. So studying at DTU. So we have a mission that is very important to us. And our mission is that DTU develops and creates value through the technical and natural science for the benefit of society. Here you can see a picture of Hans Christian Ørsted. He was the founder of DTU, and he's also the father of electromagnetism. So we are very proud of that, and that mission goes through in everything we do. We are one nationwide university. So here you see a map of Denmark. You can see there's a lot of islands around, but you see Copenhagen is located on the right, on this smaller island, where we also have our main campus of DTU Lyngby, which is located just on the outskirts of central Copenhagen. You can also look at the top of this picture. You have the Arctic Technology Center, which is our campus in Greenland. So if you like Arctic studies and you want to go somewhere really cold, then go, apply for the Arctic studies in Greenland, because I've unfortunately never had the opportunity to go there. I would love to one day, because it's a very, very interesting place to go. And yeah, we do have different campuses and research facilities around the country as well. On the top of the country, you have this city called Hirtshals, which we also have sustainable fishery, which you can study. So yeah, we're spread a little bit everywhere around Denmark, but our main campus is DTU Lyngby campus, which is just outside of Copenhagen. Rankings, of course, rankings are important to very many students. Here are some of our rankings. I will just mention a few of them because there are so many rankings out there. But of course, if we look at the QS ranking in the Nordics, we are ranking number 9. This was in 2023. Correct me if I'm wrong, Benita. But it's number 9 in the Nordic region. In Europe, we are 48, and in the world, 121. And keep in mind that we are a purely technical university, so this is a quite well ranked. This is a good ranking for a purely technical university. Times Higher Education World University Rankings, 7 on the Nordic region, 51 in Europe, and 126 in the world. We also have the NG rank, which we are very proud of. It's a fairly newer ranking, but we are ranking number 1, of course, in both the Nordic region and in Europe. And it's very important for us to keep on working on this. More numbers. I like numbers. So here you can see that this was of 2023. We had 15,245 students from 107 different countries. So you can see that we are quite an international and diverse university. 33% of our students are women. And of course, that is something that we also are working on to even get that percentage up. And we have about 5,462 research publications. And this was in 2023. So you can see that we produce a lot of research publications, but that's also because we do have a lot of PhD students as well that are working on research publications. So we have 1,760 PhD students. However, I'm not going to focus on the PhD, but I will mainly focus on the master studies. But you can see that we have 7,760 Bachelor of Engineering and Science students. But for the Masters of Science, we have 5,725, whereof 2,766 are international students. So you can see that the percentage of international students at DTU is quite high, if not almost 50%. So for the study programs that we have for international students, we do offer 1 Bachelor of Science in General Engineering, which is a 3-year program with 180 ECTS. But the ones I like to focus on are, of course, the 32 master programs, which are 2 years, 120 ECTS, there's 60 ECTS points a year. And you also have the ability to boost your master's with an honors track. You also do have the options of studying abroad in yet another country, because you're already abroad, right? We do have 23 plus joint international programs, which means that you can actually end up studying at 2 different universities. So you can even have an even wider international experience. I do get a lot of questions about the study language, because sure, we do speak Danish in Denmark. However, at DTU, all of our master programs are taught in English. So you don't need to worry about having a professor asking you a question in Danish. It won't happen. It is purely in English. So 32 master programs at DTU. I'm not going to go through all of them because there is a lot of different programs, but you can see that there is a wide variety of programs that you could study. So anything from architectural engineering, biotechnology, human-centered AI, sustainable fishery, wind energy, which is a very big thing in Denmark, earth and space physics, design and innovation. It's like we cover so many different types of programs. So if you have a science background, I'm pretty sure that you will find something that you would want to study with us. Also, as a DTU student, one of the great things is that you will actually have hands-on access to world-class research facilities. So these are actually pictures from one of our research facilities as well. One other thing that is really important, and as I also mentioned earlier, is sustainability, innovation, entrepreneurship. All of these things are integrated into our study programs, our mandatory courses, and elective courses as well. Sustainability, very, very important to us. Innovation, so important. Entrepreneurship, also very, very important. What goes on in here, we want to have out there. That is our goal. We also like to simulate individual and collaborative learning. Of course, you want to develop on an individual plan. However, group work and being able to work with other people, it is a very, very important thing. So you would see that a lot of our programs are project-based, it is group work-based, but it also gives you an opportunity to have individual development as well. So it's not saying that it's 100% group-based work, but you will be able to work way more smoothly if you have that experience of group work. So that is why it's so important to us. Global collaboration. We are a fairly global university. We work with a lot of different universities around the world. These are some of them, but we also have about 120 exchange agreements with universities around the world. So it gives you a lot of options to explore even further outside of the DTU borders. And yeah, and if you want to do that, that is absolutely something that you should really look and see what you can do with this. DTU Skylab. So this is also the first picture and the first background picture, but it's also what kind of defines what we do at DTU. So what is the Skylab? Well, the Skylab is the hub. It's the hub of student innovation. It is the hub that supports student innovation. It supports entrepreneurship, and it's a place where students can, again, take what's in here and put it out there. And you put it out there with having options to use prototype workshops. You have different labs that you can use. There's tons of events going on. There's teaching going on. So it's this very lively hub of innovation. And if we look at 2023, there were actually 81 new startups that was created through our DTU Skylab. So we had 64 students and 17 employees getting together, creating different startups with ideas from scratch. So becoming a student at DTU, take advantage of the Skylab. You would absolutely love it. So why should you choose DTU? Well, as mentioned, we do have world-class research facilities, and we have a really dynamic student environment. It's a diverse community, I would call it, because DTU is a community. It's a community of strong-willed, passionate students who wants to make a difference. We focus a lot on innovation. We love innovation. We love sustainability. And because we do this, we also work closely with industry leaders and startups. So we are there out in society trying to actually make a difference. As a new student, we also do have a buddy system. We had the startup earlier for the 2024 autumn that just started. And there was an introduction week, and we have a lot of buddies all around campus. But it also means that you have not only for the introduction week, but for a whole semester that you have a buddy. So it helps you with that smooth transition of being an international student, getting into the ETU, not knowing a lot about what maybe how things work here, but you will have that one buddy that will support you through that journey. And we get great feedback for our buddy system, and there are so many people that actually, and so many students that appreciates having a buddy there. Sharing knowledge, we love knowledge sharing. What I know, I want you to know. What you know, I want to know. Again, project-based learning, we love projects. We have a very flat structure, not only at DTU, but also in Denmark. We have a very, like, the hierarchy is not very strong. So if you talk to your professor, you would never use, when you ask a professor, you would be like, excuse me, professor. It doesn't happen here. You would use the professor's first name. Things go on a first name basis here, and that's how we're raised. That's what we're used to. It creates like a closer relationship between you and your professor, and that you are, in the end, we're all the same, right? And together we can work to create something new. So yeah, loving this this flat structure in Denmark. Flexibility. This is actually one of DTU's strong points as well, the flexibility. So we don't really do that traditional structure of study plans. We actually give the students a lot of freedom to design their own schedule. So, and this might sound scary to a lot of students, like, oh, suddenly I'm going to be in charge of my own my own schedule. But it gives you the freedom. It gives you the freedom to do that. And we do have staff that will support you in creating a schedule if you are not 100% sure how you're going to like arrange your days. But it gives you a good work-life balance as well, because sometimes you might be able to choose classes that starts a little bit later in the day if you're not a morning person, right? It could be one of those things as well. So it really kind of tries to fit your lifestyle as well, so that you don't only try to fit the lifestyle of a school or university. So yeah, great with this kind of flexibility. Diversity again, we are an incredible, diverse international community with students, and not only students, but our staff as well. We have staff from so many countries around the world. So again, we are this hub of internationalism. It's a great environment. Like to show a little bit of pictures from our campus. Again, you can see that Scandinavian design of clean lines. It's simplistic, it's clean, it's bright colors. Our winters tend maybe to be a little bit dark, so it doesn't hurt with a little bit of brightness. And on the next page, actually, this is one of our newly renovated buildings. It's 303, I think, which these pictures actually came out, I think it was just 2 days ago. So you can see that we use these. We use a lot of wood, of course, because we're in the Nordics, but we like that clean, modern, very sleek and comfortable colored environment. Student life. So, what is it to be a student? How is it to be a student at DTU? And what could you expect? So, student activities. So, talking about work and life balance, we also really love to have a lot of activities. It is important for people to have activities. So we do have a large selection of, we have indoor activities, outdoor activities, and after school activities as well. When it comes to indoors, you can play soccer, you can play indiaka, you can play badminton, you can sing, you can dance, you can do yoga. We have a fitness center. If you want to, since we're in the Nordics, if you want to go skiing on your holiday, you can train for that, right? We have so many different clubs, we have so many different associations. So you will have access to clubs and bars and cafes, gaming facilities, hobby clubs, football tournaments. If you want to run a half marathon, you can do that. And if you like singing, you can join a choir. If you like arts, we have art associations. If you like to play the piano, we have a forum for that as well. So we actually have so many things that you can do, even though we are a small country, right? So we will make sure that you will feel that you have things to do during the year. Another good thing that we have is something called Going. And this is an exclusive platform for students that has been offered admissions to DTU. So and personally, I'm a big fan of this app because it actually gives you the opportunity to connect with future classmates. And also, if you have any questions about DTU, if you have and you want to get to know people before you get here, you can use this platform to get to know your future classmates, because everyone that has been offered admissions will get access to this. And we have a lot of people who have said very good things about Going as well. So, from Copenhagen to the continent. So, one of the great things about Copenhagen is that it's positioned in such a perfectly part of the Nordics. So we are a hub. So we have, of course, Norway, we have Sweden above us and next to us, and then we have the UK on the other side, and we have Germany below. So we are kind of like in the top middle of everything. And we do also have a lot of what to call it, like cheaper airlines that kind of gives you the flexibility to visit a lot of different places. And then studying at Copenhagen, that is the perfect place for that. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of how far things are away. So if you want to go to Oslo, you can jump on a flight and you're there in an hour. You want to go to Finland, it's 2 hours. You want to go on a weekend shopping trip to the UK and London, it takes you less than 2 hours. You want to go to Berlin, it takes you an hour. If you want somewhere a little bit warmer, you have Portugal, less than 4 hours. Or Italy, if you want to experience the fashion, right? It's 2.5 hours. So we are really, really well centered, actually, in the northern part of Europe. And as you can see, I also wrote 30 minutes to Sweden. To be said, that is not Stockholm, because I don't know if you knew, but Copenhagen is actually directly connected to Sweden. So as you see on this picture, this is the Öresund Bridge, and it's connected to the third biggest city in Sweden, which is called Malmö. And a 30-minute train trip and you're in another country and in another big city. So it's an absolute great weekend destination as well. Right now, I just one moment. Yes. So going into some of this other details, we have the cost, the fees, and application process. So the costs while studying in DTU. So the tuition fee and living costs for non-EU citizens for 2 years, it is 30,000 euros. So that is 15,000 euros per year. The cost of living per month is approximately 1,200 euros. I'm also aware that this is, of course, a high amount for a lot of students. But one of the good things, and which is also mentioned in the bottom here, is that you do actually have the opportunity to work as a student on your student residence. You're allowed to work for 20 hours a week, and during June, July, and August, which are the summer months, you're allowed to work for 37 hours a week, which is the equivalent of a full-time position in Denmark. There are student discounts available on public transportations and restaurants, and as said, we have a lot of different clubs and associations that do a lot of different activities. So for sure, it does work. We have DTU fee waivers. These are limited fee waivers and are merit-based only, and it's only also for the autumn intake, which is of course the one that we are looking at coming up for the next year. For the national scholarship, we have, of course, together with FUNED, we have the agreement that applies for both intakes, for spring and for autumn. I haven't mentioned anything about spring right now because the deadline has already passed, so I'm focusing on the autumn intake for 25. So what we will do is we will support 2 students per year. And if you want to know more of the financial details and how to apply for a scholarship through FUNED, then of course you contact FUNED, right? Yes. Admissions requirements. So one of the requirements that you will need to meet is your degree. So you need to have at least one of these degrees. So you need to have a Bachelor of Science in Engineering, or a Bachelor of Engineering, or a Bachelor of Natural Science, which is a degree obtained at an internationally recognized university. Is also one important thing to mention is that your bachelor degree must be less than 10 years old. If it is older than 10, you might have, you could apply, but it's something that would be processed differently, and we would have to look to see if it's possible, but it's nothing that we can guarantee, so let's say. English language requirements, you need to have an IELTS of 6.5. It doesn't matter if we don't have a limit to say that you need to have at least 6 point something in specific parts of the test, but it has to be at least 6.5 overall. For the TOEFL IBT, you have to have a minimum of 88, and the Cambridge Advanced English, it will be a C1 Advanced, which is the minimum of 180. If you do have an IB diploma, you might fulfill the English requirements if the English courses were comparable with an English B level. So when can you apply? So the next intake that we are looking at is the autumn of 2025. So our application portal opens on the 15th of November. Today is the 1st of October, so it gives you a lot of time to prepare your documents and have them ready for the 15th when we open our portals and you start sending in your applications. So it's going to be open from the 15th of November to the 15th of January. Of course, I will always recommend you to send it in as early as possible so we can start processing your applications as early as possible. So how do you apply? Well, you do apply through dtu.dk. It's important when you go into our website that you do choose the part that it says qualifying degree acquired outside of Denmark, because then you are going into the international students parts of our applications. So if you want to join the future with DTU, so what kind of students should join DTU? Well, we believe, and I think this is it's kind of a good question as well, like why and who is that. So if you are a proactive student and you have a desire to learn, then you should absolutely apply to DTU. If you love to think outside the box, it's perfect, then you should absolutely apply to DTU, because we want to have what's in there out here, right? If you value hands-on and project-based learning, you should absolutely apply to DTU. If you get excited by multicultural understanding of scientific issues, then you should absolutely apply to DTU. If you see the importance of group work and human dynamics, again, you should absolutely apply to DTU. And of course, very important, if you have an international mindset and you want to train to become a global engineer, and I love this, a global engineer, then you should absolutely apply to DTU. All right, that comes to the round of questions. Thank you so much for letting me present DTU and Denmark to you guys.
Thank you so much, Olive. If I didn't have a family, I would jump on a plane right now and move to Denmark. It sounds amazing. Preguntas a alguien, no sean tímidos, las pueden hacer en español y yo les traduzco, o en inglés o en el chat.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Hola, Daniela.
Bueno, voy a hacer la pregunta en inglés.
Así.
Could you please talk to us about job opportunities in Denmark?
Job opportunities in Denmark. Yes. So when you're talking about job opportunities, you're thinking about like after you have finished your studies.
Yes.
Yes. Vanita, could you jump in on this?
Yeah, sure. So Daniela, basically, yes, we completely believe and we want our international students to be in Denmark and to be working here in Denmark after they complete their studies. And in order to achieve this, in fact, there's support from the governmental level as well, because when the students get the residence permit for their stay and work in Denmark, they actually get it for 2 years, that is towards your studies, and then you get an extra 3 years to look for a job. So you basically have, a 3-year period, not only to look for a job in Denmark, but you can also go to the other Nordic countries. And as Ollie's told you, we are so centrally located, you could also go to the other European countries and look for a job. Having said that, there's a great demand for engineers in Denmark. So if you're, if you're one of those, if you're a proactive student who's alert, who's, who starts with a student job to begin with, which is extremely important because that gives you an understanding of the Danish labor market, then the doors towards getting a job become easier for you. So that's, we have a career center at the university that's constantly helping students and supporting you all and encouraging you all and guiding you on how you can go and, look for a student job, for example, to start with, which can ultimately even open doors to become a full-time position. We also have internship opportunities, which are not a part of your study program at DTU, but we do support students who can get an internship opportunity with a company. So that's also one of the ways that international students look for internships. And once they have an internship, then that can get converted to a job after you finish your studies. A third way of going about it is your thesis, because more than 90% of students are doing their thesis with a company. And when you're doing your thesis with a company, that's actually when you have your foot in the door and you're understanding about the company gets to know about you. And a lot of positions are created and converted from a thesis project to a full-time position afterwards. So there are a lot of opportunities for you and good support from the university, from the time you start your studies here.
Thank you so much, Vanita.
Sure.
There's a question on the chat. I'm not sure I understand, Vanessa. I'm going to read your question. Voy a leer tu pregunta. No estoy segura si entiendo. Vanessa asks, some masters ask us to have had taken certain classes during the undergrad. Is it mandatory to have taken all the classes, or could it be that she didn't take one class? She's a chemist and she's interested in pharmaceutical sciences, and she does have her degree. She's interested in the Master of Science in Pharmaceutical Design and Engineering.
Yes. I'll take that as well, Ollie. Okay. Yes, sure. So, there are two different aspects related to admissions. One is the overall admission requirements, which are applicable to all the applicants. So that is something that you will find on the website, which would basically talk about, a little bit of it has been covered by Ollie when he spoke about the degree title, and he spoke about the language requirements and so on and so forth. But then there is another important aspect, which is the academic review of an application. And that is the question that you're referring to. So what our head of studies have done is they have given academic prerequisites for admission to every MSc program at DTU. And you as a student have to assess your background with what DTU requires for admission. Now, it is, while it is a perfect profile to have met all the requirements, that does not mean that if you're missing some requirements, you may not be admitted. So it is up to the academic reviewer to basically look at your profile to see what are the requirements you have met, to see whether you can fulfill and start and fulfill the MSc program at DTU with the requirements you have. So this part of the academic review is only done after you submit an application at the university. So that is the first step you have to do. Now let's just say, let's look at two scenarios. Scenario one is that the head of studies looks at your application and says, okay, the applicant is missing maybe 5 ECTS or 10 ECTS of a certain program, but he reviews that your other profile or your other courses that you have taken are good enough and can support your MSc study at DTU. So he will give you a direct admission and he will say that, okay, you can start your studies now. But he may also come back to you and say, okay, you're missing these 5 or 10 ECTS, and he believes that they're important for you to, complete the MSc program at the university. And in those circumstances, he will get back to us and tell us that this is exactly what you're missing. So once you know what you're missing, and if you're really motivated to study at DTU, you have the possibility of identifying courses at your university or in your home country that would meet the requirements that you're missing. And then you can always take on courses. You can write to us. We can give you certain guidelines on how do you choose courses to make sure that, you're meeting the basic parameters at DTU. And once you have those guidelines, you identify a course, you take it, and then you can apply again at the university. So a one-time review does not mean that you cannot apply again. But having said that, you'll have to apply. So we don't have this possibility of doing a pre-screening of applications where, we can give you a direct answer to the question that you're asking. You have to go through the application process for us to let you know whether your profile would be acceptable or not.
Thank you. Yes, that makes sense. So Alfonso is asking a similar question, to my understanding. He is asking if there's a limit or something that might limit him if he is a petroleum engineer and he wants to change to a master degree at DTU related to material sciences or something like that can be related to the petroleum, to the oil industry, but it's not necessarily only about that.
Yes, and that's also a very good question and a relevant question. So basically, as you know, I'm not an engineer, but the way I look at it is there are always overlaps in the field of engineering. So if you have a certain background, that does not mean that you might not meet the academic requirements of another program. So there could be overlaps. So what you need to do in this case is, if you look at our website, you can look at what are the academic prerequisites required for the program that you're interested in. And you can then look at your profile as a petroleum engineer, and then you can see whether you have the courses or not. If you have the courses, then you can apply for that program. But you will have to do this study on your own, and you will have to look at each and every program to see where the overlap could be and what are the possible MSc programs that you could pursue with your background. So this is a kind this is a kind of, a little bit of research, or what I would call as pre-mapping, that you would have to do as an applicant before you apply. But I would strongly suggest that, if you're coming with a different background, then it's a good thing to invest time and energy to do this pre-mapping, just to make sure that, you don't, you've given it some thought, because it's time, it's money also you're investing also, because you have to pay 100 euros as an application fee for for getting a review on your application. So it's money, it's time that you're spending on an application. So it makes sense that before you apply, you do this pre-mapping as a first step, and then of course you see which are the best matches for you.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a similar question. We have no other questions at the moment. ¿Alguna otra pregunta? ¿Alguien que quiera abrir su micrófono, preguntar algo? Jesus is asking, as an international student, how is the path to get into the honors course?
So basically, the honors is what we call as the elite tracks at the university, and very few students get admitted to the honors track. The way that you need to go about it is, now the decision on the honors track is always based on your academics at the bachelor's. So if you have a very strong and high GPA, then then the possibility of you getting admitted to the honors track is quite high. Now, the way it works is like this. You're making an application to DTU. Then in the application portal, there would be a question that says if you're applying for an honors track. So if you're applying for an honors track, then you have to submit a separate statement of purpose, which basically talks about why do you want to be considered for the honors track? So you have to make a one-page statement is good. You put it up with your application. When your application is being reviewed by the academic head, he or she will also look at the honors application that you have submitted, and the decision will be based on the grades that you have at your bachelor level. So if your grades are very good, now because you're an international student, and you don't have the same grading scale that we have here in Denmark, and we can't do a direct translation of your grades from your country to the Danish scale. So what the head of studies do is that they give you a conditional admission to the honors track to begin with. Once you're conditionally admitted, then you have the first semester during which you need to show a minimum grade of 10 at DTU, and you need to then come up with a study plan. You will have an interview after the first semester. You will have the possibility of talking to your head of study. You will have a supervisor allotted to you. You need to make an ambitious study plan. So the honors is all about, we have a framework at DTU for all our master programs, but when you're an honor student, you have no framework. You have the possibility of just designing your own plan and making it as ambitious as possible. But remember that there are conditions you need to fulfill to maintain the honors track. So you always have to have, high grades. You need to have a 10 plus. You need to have a 10 plus on your 10 or 10 plus on your thesis. So these are the requirements that you consistently need to fulfill. You have to complete your studies within the allotted study time that's given to you. So once you meet up all these conditions, then you get the honors degree or the honors title mentioned on your diploma once you complete your studies. So that's the process for the honor students.
Thank you so much. ¿Alguna otra pregunta? Any other questions? Okay, I think that was it. Thank you so much for your time this late at night. I hope you have a good night's sleep. Thank you so much again for the support for our students, and hopefully we'll see some of them making the trip over to Denmark and enjoying the life of being free from worries and everything that happens when you live here. Thank you so much again. Have a good night y muchas gracias a todos por acompañarnos. Buenas tardes.
Thank you very much, Sophia.
So
Thank you, Funit, and we look forward to receiving applications.
yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.